Good morning, everybody. 8:16 a.m., April 16th. Oh boy, this market's insane. This market is insane. Unbelievable. So what I saw yesterday was this was the fastest recovery ever, or I think ever or in 40 years. And when the market went down 5 to 10% and went back to all-time highs, I think it took 11 days to get back up to all-time highs. I think that set a record. Or like I said, the 40 years. I can't recall exactly. Okay. Crazy. Now, just a little summary for myself yesterday. We'll just go to, we'll go to SPY QQQ charts here. So, I think it was this pullback here. That's a 15-minute chart, but I was in my community. I said, ooh, that could be a nice pullback to break the highs of the day. And that, we looked at it. I was like, watch it go, go. It broke the high day. I was like, well, that would have worked. That would have worked, right? And then I saw, like this, let me get a better chart here. Let me get a better chart. I'm going to get a 5-minute of the SPX here. All right, so that pullback broke the high day, right? Then this pullback, okay, I was so hair trigger close to shorting here. The reason why was 7,000. It's not on my gamma level, it's not on my chart right now, but 7,000 was right there. We rejected it. Also, Nvidia hit the largest gamma level of the month, 200 psychological level, and I was waiting for that to get hit. And remember, Nvidia's over its expected move like everything else is now. It's not that shocking now. Okay, it literally went up to where I wanted to get in and sold off all the way down past VWAP, and I was like, oh, and Nvidia was falling apart, right? So it gave me an opportunity again. So I shorted here because at this point, you can see down here, the internals were not strong or weak. So I was like, we're in a balanced day. I should at least get a nice move again. Well, I got stopped, and then I shorted again, okay, somewhere, I believe, in here or something. And the market was going back down. I think I got that. I was in this move, I believe, right here. What happened was some news came out, and I don't know exactly, that boom, ripped my stop out. Even though my trade was in profit, and now I did have a chance to get out, and I thought about it. I was like, I don't know which way this is gonna go, and I could have went to break even. I could have even flattened it for a little profit, and then it boom hit my stop, and then I just was like, all right, I'm gonna walk away. And then I didn't know what happened in the markets, honestly, until later in the day. And I was like, wow, look at that. Look at the internals, just boom, 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 boom. Wow. I would have not been shorting if it was like that. So, always sucks when you have those mental, like the mental, what was it here? The mental long right here would have worked, right? Then the short that I almost triggered into works. I get another opportunity because the market wasn't that strong still. Get stopped, but then to be in profit and news blows you out, that's just trading. Sucks. That's trading. And every day this week, pretty much every day, I think my scenarios haven't really been playing out like normal because the market is insane. It's not moving normally. That's why it's the fastest recovery, or at least over the last 40 years. It's not moving. Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't take a trade Monday. Now, I know this from my own self, right? I didn't take a trade Monday, the way the market's moving. Tuesday, I didn't take a trade all the way into the end of the day, and it was a break even. Okay? yesterday, almost long. I was mentioning in my community when I was live, I was like, right there is probably the opportunity. You would have had no heat, would have been a winner. My next short would have been a winner. But instead, I didn't take those. I took another one, which I'm not even upset about. Okay. Not even upset about it. Got stopped. Great. Went in again because I still liked what I was seeing. And then news came out and blew me out. Right. I know it does. Like, I'm not going to be mad at the market at all. I still had opportunity. Right. And I wasn't fading a strong market. This market was not strong. So what could you do? What could you really do? And I didn't take any trades that I was like, oh, that was the dumbest thing you ever did. Nope. What can you do? Now, with that being said, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and buying profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposed levels of most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That's how I come up my game plans. Okay, now once that market opens up, I use my market internals. Little ICT, expected moves, anchored VWAPs. Okay. That lets me know. Okay, that's the little edge I have, is those market internals. Because up until that point when we were moving, I was like, all right, now I did note that I wanted to be long. I said it in my community. I want to be long. Because all the top 4 sectors were green and we moved by market cap. Okay. I want it to be long. But then I was like, Nvidia's falling apart. Semis were actually not the strongest yesterday. So, but that's, it is what it is. Okay? Now, hopefully, you join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. All right, give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, leaders and laggards, technical analysis, and I give you long or short trade scenarios at the end of the stream. Okay, now you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to come join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay? So, the whole time yesterday, if you were live with me in my community, can attest to it, that I kept mentioning all these confluences. Nvidia, watch it, at 200, we're above the expected moves in all the markets. I'm like, I want to be long still, but just caution, right? I was like, there's a lot setting up, and I should have hit that short, right? But I didn't let price action, what it was doing, and we kept going up, like, deter me, because I was like, I'm just waiting. It didn't even bother me. I was just like, I'm gonna wait. If something presents itself, great. Now, that first pullback, I wanted a deeper pullback, right? I didn't quite get it, but I said this is probably a decent trade. And then the next pullback, which was the pullback you really could have got into, really didn't have a setup that was that great. Okay. So that leads us to futures watch list. Let's go into it. VIX is muted, 18.24 VIX. It's up 0.39%. Crude is up actually 0.32% at $91.58 a barrel. Gold up 0.30. Nasdaq's up 0.22. Dow's up 0.18. Dollars up 0.16. The ES up 0.13. The Russell's flat. 30-year bonds are flat. 10-year yield is flat. Silver's down 0.18. Bitcoin's down 0.45. Ethereum down 1.5%. Max Evans. Microsoft. I'm glad I added to that position of mine. Microsoft. I'm glad I added to that position because you never know. This is where you never know, right? Tesla's up 1%. Tesla had a banger of a day yesterday. Meta. No, wait a minute. Sorry. Eli Lilly up 0.77. Meta up 0.75. Apple's up 0.5%. Okay. Netflix reports earnings today after the close. Now you can see all the earnings, right? We're in earnings season, so you can see them all lining up. Okay. Who's lagging today? Amazon down 0.17. Google's down 0.20. Nvidia down over a half percent. Broadcom down almost 0.94. Now, TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductors, had earnings. They beat earnings, I believe, but they did have some news that this war could impact their some chemicals or something that they use, some materials that they use in their process of making chips. So it's a little tiny bit of negative. They make the chips, okay? I don't think that's going to take the market down, but I'm just saying that's why there's a little bit weakness there. Top sectors here. Oracle's just on a tear. All right. Oracle up 4.38%. Salesforce up 2.22%. Palantir up 1.44%. This is not surprising. These were getting battered. Okay. Uber up 1%. PepsiCo reported earnings this morning up 0.96. Okay. Lagging, Qualcomm. I don't necessarily know why. They're down 1.2%. Is there any news? Nope. Maybe they got a downgrade or something. Okay. Sectors. Actually, real quick, I haven't done this in a little bit. Let's go to the granular list just to see who's leading. Wow, HIMS up 9%. Oklo, that's nuclear, up almost 7. These are all stocks that were getting hurt. QTB, that's D-Wave, that's quantum computing, SoFi. Okay, let's just real quick look who's lagging today. Abbott Labs, I believe they reported earnings. Sherwin-Williams, Micron, PayPal, ASML. See a bunch of semis are getting hit. Semis, Taiwan Semiconductors. Okay. All right. Oop, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's go back to here. Sectors. All right. Technology is leading the pack, up 0.31. Communications up 0.12. Okay. Lagging. Semis. See that? Semis are lagging. I would, like I said, I believe it's because of the Taiwan Semiconductors, what they said. Okay. So, we're going to go to the economic calendar, which is not much today. All right. Boom. Today, initial jobless claims, that hasn't moved markets in a long time. It's going to come out in about 1 minute. Philly Fed, none of this really moves markets. Fed Williams speaks at 8:35. Fed Mirren at 10:35. Very data light, and the volume is even less today. So I think what I saw before was 50% of relative volume. So it makes sense, right? We're moving on this low volume. So we got that. All right. Now let's look at Trump's schedule today. Let's see. TBD. 11 a.m. President participates in executive time. Okay. President delivers remarks to 2 TPUSA at 5 p.m. It's not going to do anything. Let's look at the juice. Okay, some news here. Let's see. There is no call planned between Lebanese president and Israeli PM in the near future. Okay. Lebanese embassy in Washington informed U.S. administration that Lebanese president would not speak to Israeli PM. Okay. Nothing here. Now this is the Taiwan Semiconductors. Let me show you that right there. It says their CFO Wendell Huang, okay, said Huang warned that disruptions in specialty chemical supplies due to the Middle East war could hurt TSMC's profitability, although it's too early to tell. Okay. Very interesting. Now look, the world's largest contract chip maker is a key player in the AI supply chain and has benefited greatly from outsized demand in the sector for advanced chips. It is a major supplier to AI darling NVIDIA and also manufactures chips for a variety of industrial and consumer electronics applications. Okay, so we have to see. All right. Let's look at some more news. Hopes for a deal to end Iran war grow, but nuclear issues unresolved. PepsiCo tops quarterly revenue estimates. Bank of New York Mellon profit rises on strong fees, interest income growth. Fed leadership transition on shaky ground as clock ticks on Powell's term. Starlink outage hit drone tests, exposing Pentagon's growing reliance on SpaceX. Okay. Let me see if there's anything in here that I not know about. Oh boy, there's my baby. Let's see here. GE Vernova, JP Morgan raised the target price to 1150 from 1000. Did that stock hit 1000 yet? Did not. Okay. We're going to look at a little breath. Let's do it. I bet those credit spreads are down. Let's see. Let's just look at those real quick. Oh, yeah. They've been moving down. Makes sense, right? They gave us a little bit of a Nope, went down. We'll keep that in mind, all right? Bullish percent index. All right, let's look at the S&P 500. Now, remember, yesterday, the overall 500 stocks, because it's a market cap weighted index at the S&P 500. Remember, the larger the market cap of the stock, the bigger it has the effect on the S&P 500. It doesn't matter, okay, if the 500 stocks collectively were not that strong, because they were not. So let's look at the S&P 500, okay? So yesterday, right, it went not that much higher. I guess 3%. 61% on buy signals in the S&P 500. Not too far from 50%. So it's right. That's the overall market. Okay. Now, NDX. Let's see where we're at. Look at that. You see what I'm talking about? We're at all-time highs. We just made the fastest move ever. 59% on buy signals. It's like kind of middling. You don't get real frothy until about 70%, 80% on buy signals. But look at this at one point. You were down at 30%. Okay? Now, let's drill down into the technology sector. This, I would guess, is where you're going to find some love. 63%. Now, still, remember, this is not showing you market cap. It's not. Okay? We'll get into another thing that can show us a nice chart. Let's go to financials. Look at that, 71%. Now, financials are all the way down here where I'm saying, ooh, I'd like to buy some. Well, I never did, and now look at it, right? And one more time, let's just look at the NYSE exchange. 58%. See? That's the New York Stock Exchange, which I believe has like 2,800 stocks in it. 58% on buy signals. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Now I bet you this number is going to be frothy. The percentage of stocks over our 20-day simple moving average, you're probably going to see an overbought condition here. All right, we're getting very frothy. 71% of stocks in the S&P 500 over the 20-day simple moving average. You can see from the past, when you get into 80s, 85s, you don't stay there that long. Okay, now let's look at the 50. The 50 was middling the other day. This is probably improved. Not really. Remember, this is 500 stocks. It doesn't go on market cap weight or anything. It's only middling. 50 stocks. 52% of stocks are only over. That's 50%. 50-50. 250 above the 50, 250 below. That is not strong. So this market isn't moving. The whole market is not moving up together. It's the market cap weighted. Okay? That's how the market moves. It's only a little collection of stocks that are moving the market. All right. So now that that's being said, we're going to get into the little market internals really quickly. Market internal recap here. I kind of briefly went over this chart a little second ago, and I just want to reiterate something what I was talking about. The top four sectors were all green all day. Okay, that's why I wanted to get long on that false problem. I was like, oh, they're all green. I'd like to still be on the long side. Okay, this didn't really have a setup. Just pull back. Okay, because the market was like, look at the market was degrading a little bit. Nvidia was pulling back, but that was probably the opportunity, but not a setup though, right? So this right here, market cap weighted stocks were green, but look at the healthcare, look at industrials, look at staples, right? They and financials was not that strong. Okay, look at these numbers. The NYSE, which has about, like I said, over 2,500 stocks in it, was only a plus 212. The Nasdaq exchange was only a plus 791. Now, this is the ADD of the S&P 500. Look at that. Minus 56. Minus 56. Okay? More stocks were declining than advancing. Now, that's middling because a 0 means 250 above, 250 below. So, that's what I'm talking about. This was not a market that moved up altogether. This would be like a plus 300 if it was. Nasdaq 100, look at it. Plus 5. Plus 5. That's like 55 stocks above. What is that? 45 stocks below the prior day's close. Okay, it's not just the 100 stocks of the Nasdaq 100. It wasn't. It was just the market cap weighted stocks. Okay, moving on. The dailies. Now, we're on the daily charts, right? We'll drill it home one more time. That look at our S&P 500 made all-time highs, right? Not in futures though, but in the markets that everybody looks at, right? SPX, all that. SPX hit 7,000 for the first time. So that's that, right? And where's the market now? 784. So we're gapping up again. It's crazy. Okay. Now, look at this market, right? Remember I said this is not an overall market bump. Now, I don't know what this is going to look. I haven't looked at it, but the RSP is equal weighted, right? This is as if the market S&P 500 had no weighting. Look at that market. Nowhere near all-time highs. There's all-time highs. You can see this is not moving like the S&P 500 because the S&P 500 is market cap weighted. See what I'm saying? This chart says it all. We're not by the all-time highs here. You're not getting overall market breadth here. Now, let's look at the MAGS ETF. That's not at all-time highs either, but look at that. Boom, 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 boom. Right? Just a crazy market, folks. All right, let's get the ES futures. So see, futures is not at all-time highs yet. I believe that's 7,096. You can see it here. But look at this. That is crazy. You haven't had a black candle since here. Since what is that? March 27th is the last day that you opened and closed lower than the open. No other day has done that. That is insane. Markets don't generally move like this. Boom, 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 boom. I guess this took out every short possible. Okay? Let's go to Qs. All-time highs. Literally drove off the expected move to the upside. Now, once you go way above the expected move, it can just keep going. Because normally when you hit it, like you did the prior day, you kind of hang around it. Right? So this is not, if you keep going, the market makers, they didn't put this was not in the risk of the market, which can just really keep going. Okay? Where are we now? 638.51. Gapping up. Okay, let's go futures. Futures is not all-time highs either. Okay. That is like 26732 is about. Okay. But look at this. Same thing. All candles that opened and then closed higher than the open. Just insane. Insane. Especially the last couple sessions. Look, lower high, lower high. I mean, you're barely going into the prior day session. Look, you open, you close, you open at the highs, you close at the highs, you open at the yesterday's highs and close at a new one. It's crazy. That is not very typical price action. That is not. Okay, moving on. Going to the hourly charts here. All right, let's look at this now. Now, we are in supply. Remember, not at all-time highs yet. We hit a supply zone. Now, what happens here, you do have overhead supply in the futures. In the S&P 500, the SPY or the SPX, they do not have any resistance above them. But we do in futures. So whoever's in SPY trading that, they'll look at it like, oh, there's no resistance up here. Because there won't be. Okay, maybe in overnight, if you have it on the overnights, maybe in SPY, you might have price action above it from the past. You probably will. Okay. You can see the daily candle, still kind of bullish. You can see the last 4 hours has kind of a hammer. Okay. And look at this market, just boom, 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 boom. It's so funny that you move up, you consolidate, you rip, you consolidate, you rip, you consolidate, you rip, consolidate. Do we rip again? I mean, I am not gonna say short this market. Okay, I'm gonna play accordingly. Now I'm a day trader, so I don't have to be like, I got long a bunch of stocks. So in my portfolio management side, I put money in. Okay, so day trading, I'm looking at internals. I'm looking at how the market's moving. I'm not going to fight the market if I'm seeing huge bullish internals. I'm not going to fight it. Okay, so I'm still going to trade what I see. Okay, I know bulls have momentum. I'm not stupid. Okay, but we do have overhead supply here. We're hitting in the NASDAQ and the ES. Okay, so I mean, there's not much analysis to do here. If past this prologue, well, consolidation, boom, consolidation, boom, consolidation, boom, right? And notice the pattern as well. This is very not typical because I think someone did a study that the majority of the big moves happen in the overnight sessions. Well, this is the opposite. Look, overnight session, sideways, real-time trading hours, boom. Look, overnight session, real-time trading hours, boom. Overnight session again, real-time trading hours, boom. And then overnight session consolidation again. Do we do it again? All right, now, in your brain, you want to be smart and try to go, well, it's got to go down now. No, it doesn't. It's got to go, though. Can't go higher. Yes, it can. Right? I will trade accordingly. Okay? We will get a pullback. Now, what I will say is that's not the worst structure, but it's not the best. Something can happen, and this can be taken away. This could be taken away. This could be taken away. Just as good as we came up. So keep that in mind as well. Remember, I showed you the overall breadth of the market's not moving the market. People are jumping back into technology, specifically the market cap weighted heavyweights. Okay? Moving on to the Qs, the NASDAQ futures. Now, we're in heavy supply in the NASDAQ futures. Okay? I mean, same thing. Overnight, I don't have to go over that again. Got a demand zone and a supply zone. Like I said, I got to keep my mind open. We do have a tiny bit of poor structure here. Okay? So, like I said, I'm going to look for it. We're consolidating in the overnights again. Is this an excuse to maybe sweep into this demand to get higher again? I don't know. I know there's heavy supply, right? Which isn't easy. It ran into it. But then all you need is a pullback to go higher. Okay? And I will trade accordingly. Now, in the SPY and the QQQ, you're at all-time highs. So like someone could say there's no resistance. Okay? There is a little bit in futures. But this market can keep going. Because what's hard about markets, okay? What's hard about markets is they do the unthinkable. We're still at $92 a barrel in oil. This is not done. Crude is at $92 a barrel. But we priced it in. We're not even done with its ceasefire. The market said, all right, we went down 10% and we priced it in. So now, the only thing that's going to take down this market is new news. And what happens every time stuff like this happens, people, perma-bears specifically, think the market's going to go down 50%. And then it doesn't. Okay? Don't try to outsmart the market. It's impossible to do that. You just can't do it. And then what happens is human behavior takes over. Okay? Whoever had the last short on is gone. They're gone. Every short got squeezed. Okay? Can this keep going? Yes. Will there probably be a nasty pullback in the future? Yes. All it needs is some kind of catalyst, but who knows, right? That's the one thing, man. You got to float like water. Or be water. Okay? Maybe white water. All right? That's the key. Right? And it takes time to do that. That's why in my community yesterday I kept saying, like, price action does not deter me from my plan. It does not deter me. Internals tell the truth. Okay? They always do. My levels, the gamma levels, they tell the truth. Okay? Market's not going to explode higher without strong internals. It just can't do it. It's impossible. Price action can do its thing in a 5-minute window, 10-minute window. It's fine. Okay? Let's move on to the market profile. Boom. Alrighty. Look at our market here, folks. Look at our market. Gapping up. Amazing. Right? Like I said, if you were caught off guard and you tried to be smart and said, "Oh, I'm not getting in this market with crude like this. I don't want my money in the market. I'm not going to do that." Well, even probably some hedge funds are caught off guard. Now they got to get into the market. And now people who were like, "Oh my God, I missed it," we're all-time highs. And sometimes what happens is in low volume, this market can keep pushing up because FOMO comes in. Okay? We'll see. Now let's get into the scenarios. Long and short trade scenarios in the ES futures. Let's do it. We are gapping up, folks. What else is new? All right, let's break out the session, and you know what I'm going to do. Mark off the levels that I see that are important, right? First level, gap fill, 7064s. Okay? Small gap right today. Small, small, small. All right? We do have a poor low, or you want to call it an equal low at the overnight lows. That probably is going to be a draw on liquidity. That is also the close. We also 100% net long. Okay? Now, second thing I'm going to do, mark off the midpoint of yesterday's session, 7,034. Okay? All-time highs, I guess, are here. I said a different number before, 7,092. Maybe I did say that number before. 7,092 is all-time highs in futures. In futures. Now, another thing. We don't have, this is not an all-time high, but if we break this, right? Well, that doesn't matter right now. We're not at all-time highs. I'll let that go for another day. Okay? Now, of course, I'm going to be biased to the long side. You have to be. Until I see something, right? That I'm like, ooh, boy. All right? So, let's get into it. I'm going to start off with a long scenario. Okay. So, what do I see? I see a market that's kind of balanced. And it's interesting because it doesn't have a great tail at the top or bottom. Okay, so that means that overnight highs are susceptible to get broken. So is the overnight lows. So what do we have here? We have a bullish FVG at 70.54. Also demand starting at 70.64. Then we have another demand zone a little lower at 70.42. Okay? That the demand zone I'm talking about now also has the 50% retracement of yesterday's range. Those are some levels. Okay? Yesterday's most traded price was 70.60. That will line up with the overnight lows in the close. Now, let's get into it. So, what would I like? I'd love a pullback. Take out those equal lows from the overnight lows. The equal lows of the overnight, yeah, I said that right. Into this bullish FEG, also single prints, right? Any support, I don't know what that I'm getting large orders hitting the tape. Any support here in this bullish FEG, like this, whoop, high or low, right? You're going to target the overnight highs, 70.78s, and target those all-time highs at 70.92. Okay? If, and only if, I get a quick pullback, like zoom, all the way down to that 70.41 area where that demand is, right? And a 50% retracement. This is probably the last time I'm going to be like, okay, let's just be careful here. Oh, we recovered and we got a lower high. You go long, target overnight highs, 70.78s, and then all-time highs, 70.92s. That's all I'm interested in right now. Okay? Shorts that are very hard to come by. Okay. What I want to see here? Well, market push up into the overnight highs. Find resistance here. Come back into the range. Lower high. You short that, targeting overnight lows, 70.70s. Sorry, 70. 55s, 70, 55s. Now you do have poor structure, single prints right here. Okay, be very careful. If this market gets weak, it can rip through that and then test the 70.41 demand zone. Okay, there's a lot of volume here, so that could slow it down here. Okay, that has to get super weak in order for you to see yesterday's lows. Okay, not sure of that. It's probably all I'm interested in. Okay, let's move on. We're going to go into the NASDAQ here. NASDAQ is also gapping up. Okay. Now, both are in supply currently. That hasn't much mattered. It does matter because it slows it down. But we've been able to chew through some of that supply. But you don't just chew through it. You need to like pull back, consolidate, and then you can move higher. Okay? Then you can move higher. Interesting. Where the heck is that most traded price? Give me one second. I want to look at the real-time trading hours here. So one thing to note, and you can't see my full chart here. I'm going to bring it down. I want you to pay attention to something. Notice the most traded price in the NASDAQ 100 is 25320. Okay? Right here. Notice, see how big the volume is here? Now I want you to look at something. It goes along a poor structure. I want you to notice something. Look at the volume. Is tapering up. Okay? And what that means is less and less and less people are trading at these volumes. In my mentor, Josh from Trading Profile, will call this the slope of hope. And you don't know when it's going to stop, but the more and more time you run out of volume, a top is coming. You just never know. Okay, so when you move away from your most traded price of the week and you leave it in the dust, the confirmation would be to pull this up and to make a new most traded price of the week somewhere, and you haven't done it yet. That means the market's running away. Okay? Just wanted to show you guys that. Give you some perspective. Let's look at the ES too. Is the ES doing that too? Yes. Not as dramatic. It is doing it. Look, most traded price of the week is all the way down here, 60.54. No, it's not as dramatic. Look at that volume. Look at the volume here, but look, it's not like a taper like the NASDAQ. So very interesting, right? Okay. Let's talk about the NASDAQ scenarios, long and short. Let's get into it. Okay. Gapping up ever so slightly into supply. Okay. Now look at that profile. Doesn't have a tail. Look at the bottom. Doesn't really have a tail, just like the ES. Very susceptible to getting repaired. Repair just means you're going to put a tail in. That's all it means. Let's break out the session. Okay. Look at that. Look at that. And look at the lows. 100% net long as well. But the edge is not there because we're not up here. Okay. So we're very small gap. Very tiny. Let's mark it off. Gap fill 26377. Okay. 2-3. Okay. Then what else? 50% retracement yesterday is your 26180s. That happens to line up with the 262s. That's the most traded price of yesterday. Okay. So let's get into it. We're going to start off with the long. Okay. Pretty simple here. What do I want? Well, either you come up, right? Push up, break that, come back down, take out the overnight lows, which happens to be the close in the overnight lows. Okay, you're in demand at that point. Now, any support in here, with a higher low, you're going to target. Let me start this over, folks. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay. Let me undo that. Hold on. Let me take this back. Okay. Let me start over. What would I like to see? This is really what I'd like to see. A push down, break the overnight lows into demand. If you get some love and a higher low, you're going to target the beautiful equal highs at the 26487s overnight highs. Try to get that to move up higher. Now there's heavy supply overhead. So I would just love to look to that higher day break. Maybe hold a runner if you like. Now, if you get a deeper pullback, and this needs to be quick, zoom right into this bullish FEG. Okay, the bullish FEG starts at 26292s. 26292s. Okay, if you pull back, okay, in there and get love, that's a long as well. Right? If you deeper pull back, this has to be quick. I'm stressing quick. Pull back to the 50% retracement of yesterday and yesterday's most traded price, the 262s. Let's say it holds in this demand, retests the 262s, and let's say the market went down so quickly it didn't get a chance to get that weak. This is your last chance at a long targeting overnight highs at 26487s. So take what I'm saying, right? I'm pretty biased long, but I need the right criteria to do it. Shorts. Okay. Shorts. This is a pretty decent setup. Okay. I want a break of that equal highs, the overnight highs, 26487s. Go right into supply. Then I want a nice pushback into the range with a lower high. If the internals are showing me that, ooh, there's not much strength right here, you short that puppy down to the overnight lows, which happens to be very poor without a tail. That's the 26340s. All right. This is where you could take it off. That's a beautiful trade. Or take some off, hold a runner. Okay, hold the runner. Now remember, look, there's some single prints here. There's a fair value gap, which means not the most volume, right? You could ride that down to the 262s. That would be an awesome trade. Okay? Now, shorts are hard to come by. You really have to be surgical. I'm stressing that. It's really all I'm interested in. Okay? That is it for me, folks. Now, let's get my overall market thesis or my overall market outlook. Okay, these markets are definitely overbought. That doesn't mean you short the hell out of it. Okay, the momentum is clearly with the longs. Now, this will end one day. Nobody knows when. Nobody knows the timing, and that's the hardest part about trading. Okay, be it a portfolio, an investment, a swing trade, a position trade, nobody knows the timing. That's what makes the market the market. Okay? Now, this morning, what do we have? Is it a canary in the coal mine that the semiconductors are lagging today with Taiwan Semiconductors? I don't know, but it is interesting that technology is up. Okay? Technology is up, but the semis are down. That's not very typical. That is not typical. Makes the market a little weird. So somebody's lying. Now, can the semis bring down technology? It certainly can. Can technology and semis catch a bid? Will people buy more semis at the open? It certainly can. But this, to me, is a little odd. Okay, that's number one. Okay, you got that news from Taiwan Semiconductors that the war could impact their profitability from the CFO. I don't know if that matters today. I really don't. I know the market is pretty overbought. Okay? So, I am still biased long because I know how this works. The momentum's to the upside. The shorts are very hard to come by. And one day, the short is going to be a monster. You just don't know when. Okay? So sit back, have a process. I have mine, right? I will do the same thing I do every day, how I look at internals. Just be patient. Okay? This market has low volume. We're at all-time highs. Okay? So I'm cautious today, a cautious bull. I'm a cautious bull because I think that's probably the easier play. All right? Now, smash the like button if you enjoy that analysis. That would help me out tremendously. Now, as always, hopefully you join my YouTube channel. Subscribe, set that alert. Do this every day. Give you the market story, the economic calendar. Okay? Now, one thing I forgot to put up is earnings. Okay? Netflix is reporting after the close today. Netflix, part of the communication sector. I did open up a new position in Netflix. I did miss my 75 entry. It's okay. I got in around the old 90s. So hopefully that thing rips up, but we'll see. We'll have to see. Okay? Now, if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. I should be going live around 9:50 a.m. Hopefully you can join me. If you can't join me, that's fine. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Take it easy.